On set, Mike Pompeo, 70th Secretary of State, Fox News contributor. Mike, thank you very much for this. You have running a piece on Fox Digital. Iran supports Kamala Harris, but you're also concerned. Do you think Iran is trying to assassinate Trump?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that the Iranians are serious about interfering in our election, impacting the outcome, and that they want to gain what they would describe as vengeance for the death of Qasem Soleimani. Mm. So whether it's President Trump or me or one of the senior military leaders, they are determined to do that. And so, we've had 2 assassination attempts. I couldn't tell you if they're connected to this Iranian activity, but I know the FBI is working on it, and they have seen instances where the Iranians are definitely coming after American senior leaders. And we now know that they have stolen information from the Trump campaign, attempted at least to provide it to the Harris campaign and the Biden campaign. They are fully active, and they will be these last 6 weeks as well.
And they have always threatened you. And you still have Secret Service protection.
That's right. The State Department provides protection for me. Yeah, they've come after me a couple of times. They know that what we did in our administration was take the hard actions that tough people have to take to protect America. That put them in the penalty box, and we had them almost, and you were part of this too, we had an economic model that had put real pressure on the regime itself, and they don't want to see that come back because they know they were less secure, and it was a more dangerous world for them instead of for us when President Trump was in office.
And you do think they would prefer Kamala Harris as the next president?
Well, think about the 2 models. There's the Obama-Biden-Harris model, which was appease, reward, give billions of dollars, send plane loads of pallets of cash, pay for hostages to be returned, tell the Israelis to stand down and demand a ceasefire when Hamas and the terrorists are trying to kill them. And then there's the model that we had, which was to put maximum pressure on them, deny them the resources to fund Hezbollah and the Houthis, to put pressure on their nuclear program because they just didn't have the money to support it. No, there's no doubt which made their world a better place and ours less so.
Secretary, Biden's speech yesterday at the UN, among many things he said, quote, "The world must end this era of war," which I find quite remarkable. Appeasement is a catalyst for that era of war. When you and Mr. Trump left office, the world was at peace. Now suddenly the world is on fire. I don't think that's a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence. These bad guys, whether it's Xi Jinping or Vladimir Putin or Chairman Kim in North Korea, they understand one thing. They understand power. And to go to the UN and say, gosh, these things must end, as if you're a 5th grade bystander, right? As, gosh, I sure hope this all ends. When you tell Hamas that you're demanding Israel stand down, when you tell the Ukrainians, gosh, you can't fire into certain target sets, you are telling the bad guys that you're not prepared to defend the things that matter. And one thing we were really good at in the Trump administration, we didn't send the 82nd Airborne to fight every war. We didn't send Marine divisions around the world. We used American power at its most fundamental economic basis, American power in terms of diplomatic and military leverage, without putting our young boys and girls at risk. And President Biden and I think President Harris would take that same appeasement, weakness path, and that creates escalation and risk every time. Ronald Reagan had it right. President Obama, Biden, and President Harris all have it wrong.
Walter Russell Mead is a very distinguished academic. He's writing every single diplomatic initiative by Mr. Biden. Afghanistan, which was a catastrophe, the threats about Ukraine that Putin completely ignored, the Iranian situation that you're describing, every diplomatic initiative has failed, one after another, including Israel, including Saudi Arabia, including ignoring the Abraham Accords when they first came into office. This is stuff that Mr. Trump and you put in place. It was right there for them, and they threw it out the window, and then look what happened.
It's the damnedest thing. I read the piece that Walter Russell Mead wrote. He captured it exactly right. He captured the perception that the bad guys would have. I would add to this our southern border, right? A huge national security risk, having now millions of people in our country we have no idea who the heck they are. We could all wake up to a really bad morning someday when some terrorists who infiltrated our southern border because President Biden gave up what the Trump administration had put in place there that had caused illegal immigration to dwindle. This is a national security failure in the same way that Afghanistan's a failure, the same way that the war in Europe is a failure, and the same way that the war ongoing in the Middle East is a failure today.
And I don't want to be mundane about it, but, you know, you talk about defense, military. The Bidens cut the military budget year after year in real terms. As a share of GDP, I just tracked this with the CBO baseline, we're now going to fall well below 3% of GDP. When I was a young man, assistant budget director for Ronald Reagan, when he was crusading against Soviet communism, he ran that up to 6.5% to 7% of GDP. Now we have this world that's on fire. We're going to have to raise defense spending. The Bidens won't. I do not believe Ms. Harris will either.
The fact of the matter is that not only have we seen these strategic failures in the moment, but they have also put us on our back foot in terms of long-range strategic preparedness. So think about the Space Force that President Trump created. They haven't put the resources in place to back that up. We have a Navy that is smaller than it's been in an awfully long time. They've now told our allies and friends around the world we can't be trusted. Those are all things that are going to command increased resources. And there's no chance that a President Harris would ever put those resources in place.
So just to square the circle at the end here, last word. I mean, no wonder Iran thinks it can get away with interfering with our elections and literally coming after our leaders.
No one has posed any costs on any of our adversaries. And when you don't do that and you're not prepared to do it and all you talk about is the things you won't do, when you constantly talk about the things you won't do and your fear of escalation, the bad guys are going to drive a truck through that, Larry.
Unbelievable. Secretary, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you.
Really appreciate it. Thanks
Yes,
ever
sir.
so much. All right, folks.